What's good, people? Welcome to Two Wheel Talk. I'm LA Deluxe. A few days ago I had the privilege of heading down to Kensington in London to check out the UK Tour 2021 of electric motorcycle manufacturer Zero Motorcycles. I saw some really cool motorbikes and met some really cool people from the biking community. But the real reason I went down there was to test ride the Zero SRF, which is a naked version of their electric bike that reminds me of the Ducati Monster 1200, and you can see me leaning up against it just there. The Zero SRF has 190 Newton meters of torque and 110 horsepower. Now, I rode the Triumph Street 66675 the day before, and that only has 68 Newton meters of torque and 106 horsepower, and if you've ever ridden a 675 you will know how torquey that bike is. So it just goes to show you how powerful and torquey the Zero SRF really is. It has the Bosch motorcycle stability and the world's first smart customizable dash that you can connect to with your mobile phone. The Zero SRF has a top speed of 124 miles per hour and a range of 200 miles with the additional power tank, but obviously that costs more, and it also adds an additional 6 kilograms of weight to the bike, so that's something to consider. The battery takes about 4.5 hours to charge with a standard charger, but only an hour and a half with the rapid 6 kilowatt charger, but again that does come at an additional price. The base price of the bike is $18,999, so about £19,000, but if you want the premium edition with the rapid charger, fly screen, heated grips, aluminium bar ends and the power tank, it's gonna cost you £24,000. Alright, that's enough of the stats and specs. I'm going to switch over to the riding segment of the review now, so you can hear my thoughts as I ride around, and you can make up your own mind about whether the Zero SRF is the right bike for you. Alright, so today we're riding the Zero SRF. I'm down in Kensington. I've got to follow my man in front, RJ18. No clutch, it's weird. And no gears, definitely different. Just went to reach for the clutch there as we stopped, as we slowed down. And your foot does kind of look for the gear selector, but I think you'd quickly get used to it. Oh, instructor was hesitant there. I thought he was going to go for it. He wants me to pop in here next to him. I thought you was going to go for it.
Got camera on.
Interestingly, the instructor is riding a BMW R1200 RS, which is interesting. Apparently he didn't want to ride the electric bike on while he took people out. He said he was more comfortable with his own bike, which is fair enough actually. So, first impressions. The seat's comfortable actually. The seat feels well molded to my bum. Feels ergonomically designed. So that's good. Feels comfy, and it feels like it's kind of hugging my bum as well, to not let me slip back, which is good. The acceleration is actually quick. in eco mode right now, which is like the lowest mode, I believe, and it's very quick, it's very nippy. Don't know if you can hear that, the little that's the engine. So it has got some sound. Don't know if it's enough sound to alert drivers that you're coming along. Nah, it's definitely not. A driver would never hear that, especially if they had the windows closed. Just turning there, it feels a bit stiff. Maybe the battery, maybe the tire pressure is a little bit low, but the front wheel was a bit wonky on that turn there. It didn't lean like I expect a bike to lean. But that could have been a bit of my positioning, or not fully trusting the bike yet, not sure. But no, that lean was a bit the positioning is quite aggressive. I'm quite leant forward, but yeah, it's not uncomfortable. My bum is comfy, my legs feel high on the pegs. It's definitely a more sporty kind of racing position, even for this type of naked bike. One cool thing is when you're here stationary, you don't have to hold the clutch in, you don't have to switch to neutral or anything. You can just let go of the brake and the bike just stays where it is. That's cool. So there's literally no power until you twist the throttle. It is very quiet, there's no vibrations while you sit here. It kind of just feels like you're sitting on a bike that's turned off, to be honest. The instructor said he's going to try and take me on a couple of fast roads, so hopefully we'll get to see more of the speed. I'm going to try and show you the speedo right now. So that was full throttle, but it is eco mode, so maybe that's not a true representation of what it can really do. There's like a good bit of torque as you pull the throttle. It does throw you back a little bit, even in this eco mode. He is going to stop and let us change to street mode, apparently. The bike's got 5 modes, and it's got traction controls linked to each power mode. These rim mirrors, they're fine, working fine. They're just like any standard rim mirrors, really. In fact, they look like kind of standard rim mirrors that you might get off eBay or Amazon and just screw on. This dash is quite clear, no problem seeing what's on the screen, although I think it might take some getting used to understand what all of the stuff is, like SOC. The guy told me that is how much battery life you've got left, but SOC, I don't know what that stands for. Something charge, maybe? Who knows? No indication from the instructor there. What else have we got? Range 94 miles. They said the guy who's like selling them said that as you come off the throttle you get a bit of charging, so the range, you might see it go up even though the battery life percentage has gone down. You might see the range go up. Don't know if you can see that, sorry if you haven't been able to see the clocks there. Hopefully you can see them now. You've got your temperature, 10 degrees, that's really cold, like in comparison to you know, an internal combustion engine. It'd be up in the 80s or 70s or, you know, higher degrees. So 10 degrees is really cool. It's got a trip counter. It's got an overall mile counter, 788. You've got the time. It's got it. I can see a little Bluetooth indicator there as well, so I'm guessing you can connect via Bluetooth. In fact, on the website I did see that you can connect your phone to adjust your own power mode and customize the screen and layout, so that's a cool feature. Suspension feels good, so there's not really many bumps here, but it's handling them well. Definitely feels comfortable going over the little bumps that we're going over now. Just get in front of that Merc. Bit of hooligan riding. That's what you really want to know if this can do. Those quick kind of dips in and out and ducks and dives and bobs and weaves, you know, chucking it down into first and then just getting away. Obviously it can't. Don't know what's going on now. She's on her phone, so I better watch out for her in case she hits me up the backside because she's not paying attention. I think it might be time to switch into street mode, unless my guy needs to fill up or not. Maybe he knows a shortcut. I don't know. What was that about? Must be street mode time. Yeah, shall I switch it over to the next mode and then see what that's about? He said just move over to street, he said. So
I'll leave you with.
yeah, it's done.
What you might like is that lady right to the horn.
Where she was on the phone, weren't she? Yeah, I saw her.
So you got that.
Yeah.
It's good for. It's good to get them to wake them up.
Yeah.
They realise they've been filmed doing that.
Yeah.
That helps all bikers.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. I must say I'm missing the sound of the bike. I do feel like I'm on an inferior machine, there's no doubt about it. I do feel like that. You know, there's nothing like the sound of a nice engine. Maybe when all bikes are electric I won't feel as conscious about it, but just for now, you know, as I'm still so used to, as I'm sure most of us are, internal combustion engines, as I'm still so used to that, it's just weird. I feel like I'm a learner. You know, combined with the fact I'm following this guy, my bike making no sound and just being, it just feels soft. It feels like a soft thing. I don't know if that makes any sense. One thing I do notice is when I'm pulling the brake lever, it's a little bit metally, if that makes sense. I don't know if the brake pad's low or something isn't aligned properly maybe, but it's like it's rubbing on the wheel. So I don't know if it's just this one because it's a demo one and that's just one of the things, but that's just something I'm noticing. The brakes are sharp though, the brakes are very sharp. They don't you're not worried about whether it's going to stop or not. And actually the rear brake is probably one of the best rear brakes I've used. I rode the Triumph 675R yesterday and the rear brake was pants. Not only was it quite far down and difficult to, not difficult but further than I would like it to be away from my toes, it just didn't seem effective. It seemed like you almost had to stamp on it for it to do any real effective braking, whereas this one, yeah, I can comfortably reach it and not a lot of pressure needed to get it to kick in, man. Definitely more confident in the rear brake on this bike than on the 675. That could be due to the maintenance of the one I tested yesterday. Could be the pads could be lower. This one might be fresher because it's a newer bike. So there's some things to take into consideration. There's no lever here at all on the left side. Still got your normal brake reservoir up the front. These grips are pants really. They're not very thick, so I would change these for a thicker rubber, because I can feel the metal of the handlebar pole through that. So when you're leaning on it, because it's quite an aggressive position, as I'm leaning on it, it's like leaning on just the hardness of the handlebar, almost. Yeah, you could do with a bit more cushioning on that. You can see it doesn't depress very much, it's quite hard. Look, Tesla, schedule a test drive today. Today we're testing electric bikes. I think this is really good for maybe like a small town, and in the city. Quiet, like a quiet place where you're just whizzing around doing your bits and bobs, commuting. Yeah, it's probably a lot better for here in London, where it's really busy, because there's no clutch and no gears. That takes a lot of the work that you have to do when you're normally riding out of riding this. I can just twist and stop, and I don't have to worry about changing into neutral or missing neutral or anything like that. And or stalling as well, because sometimes when there's lots of traffic and you're doing all these little start stops and whatnots in the city, especially in London, you can stall the bike sometimes. So that's another thing, another problem that's alleviated, which I like. Sitting on it, it looks good. This is like plastic here, metal here, I think. Let's give it a bit of a test in street mode. Yeah, a lot quicker with the power delivery here in street mode. Still keeping its speed limits. Yeah, full twist is alright actually. Is it? It's not as brutal as the 675 I rode yesterday. The power delivery on the 675 was very brutal. It threw me back into the seat. Actually, this is throwing me back as well. I definitely have to hold tight onto the bars when I twist that throttle, but that brutal kind of really powerful throwback that I was getting with the 675, I don't feel that with this. Let me just see something. But I tell you what, the power is definitely instant at any speed. That's definitely noticeable. And when I was riding the 675, I was aware that I was in third gear and it still had power to pull hard. This is around the same speed, 40, and it still has, yeah, it's got the power to pull hard. I'd like to be on a road where I could open it up a bit more and see what the extent of that power is, but unfortunately these are quite slow roads. This is a 40-mile-per-hour road. A nice little bit of dual carriageway would have been nice, but yeah, this is okay. It's very smooth. Very smooth. See how it handles these little bumps. It handles the bumps really well actually. We haven't been over some serious bumps, but yeah, not bad at all. The engine braking is there. There is engine braking there. Not a lot though. At least not in street mode. I wonder if it was more in eco mode. Now the guy said you can switch modes on the go as long as this green light's on. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a green light here on the dash. He said as long as the green light's on, you can switch modes, but he said try not to do it while you're on the move, just in case it just in case. So maybe he's not 100% confident that it won't go crazy and bug out, but yeah, you know, you can do that. I don't really like the indicator button. Maybe it's just this one. It doesn't feel Now the instructor said he weren't going to kill me, but you know, he's doing a couple of moves here that are a bit risky. But you know, it's all good. Yeah, oh, the indicator button, yeah, it feels a bit not loose, but normally you can feel a solid click when it clicks into left or right. On this, there's no click when you put it in, or it's a very light click. It just feels like I don't know. I have to look at it because I'm not sure if it's clicked in or not. And also the indicator light, right? It's in a place, right, where you can't really see it too well. I would have preferred the indicator light right here in the middle, because then there's no question about whether you're indicating. Like, I kind of had to look around to find the indicator light, which is a bit of a distraction. You probably get used to it once you've been riding it for a while, but straight away, like, I'm looking around like, where's the indicator light? You know? That combined with the fact that you can't feel the button engaging very well, just these little things that I would like ironed out. Ride wise, I'm having a good ride actually. Can't complain at all. Well, I can actually. My right hand, my right palm is feeling the pressure. Let's just say that. Right palm and wrist is feeling the pressure a bit. My bum's really comfortable. It feels hugged. My bum feels hugged. I would like this seat on any bike. Yeah, going over that hump there, yeah, it was okay. It was okay. Normally I probably would stand up over a hump like that and just avoid feeling it at all, but it did feel a bit stiff on the back. My back, that is. The bum was well cushioned, but I did feel that in the lower back. So maybe a suspension upgrade. How does it do when rolling back? It does roll back by itself, whereas on your geared bike, you would obviously use the clutch to stop yourself from rolling back, really, or just feather the clutch lightly, or put your foot on the back brake. I don't know. I tend to use the clutch just to pull me forward a bit, you know. See, look here, the bike's rolling back. See, I would just have the clutch engaged a tiny bit at a point like that to stop me rolling back. But yeah, it's all good. I think we're back at the shop now. So, to sum up my experience on the Zero SRF, really good. Very comfortable, loved that seat, hugged my bum really well, made me feel secure and like I could ride for hours. I would gladly take that seat and put it on any other bike. Really like the power delivery, even in eco mode at 30, twist and the power was there. In street mode at 40, twist and the power was just there throwing me back. It's exactly what you've heard about these electric bikes. The power is just there, the torque is there, really positive. The brakes front and rear were really strong. I was definitely impressed with those brakes, especially that rear brake. I always find that the rear brake is weak on so many bikes, but the Zero really did a good job. I really love the fact that I didn't have to pull in a clutch when I came to a stop, whether it was at traffic lights or stuck in traffic or filtering slow. Having no clutch is a really positive bonus for somebody who lives in a densely packed city like London. I think that's where electric bikes are really going to shine, in city and small town use. Some things I didn't like were the instrument cluster and user interface. All of that felt a little bit eBay cheap to me. The screen had a plasticky cheap vibe going on. Everything had a cheap plastic eBay vibe going on in terms of the controls. Those rear view mirrors, they were just bog standard twist-ons. That grip on the throttle was so thin and it made the handlebar dig into my palm. That indicator, it just felt flimsy and didn't inspire confidence, and it made me have to look at it and scan the screen to find whether I was indicating or not, and the indicator was in a funny place, and the fact that combined with the fact that the screen had this cheapy, plasticky vibe going on. It just didn't make for a great experience. Also, there was no feeling. Part of the experience for me riding a motorbike is the sound and the feel. There was no sound, there was no feel, and the engagement that I like to have with a bike just wasn't there. And even changing gears, although that's work and it's a positive that I didn't have to do that in traffic, it's still part of the experience. That manual changing, that manual interaction, it does give you a kind of oneness with the machine that I do think is a bit lacking. There was a little, and it could be because maybe the tire pressure was low, but when I was leaning, the bike did feel like, the handlebars did feel like they were pulling into the turn, which they shouldn't be doing in my opinion. That's only ever happened to me once on another bike, a Honda Hornet that I had, and it's because my tire pressure was low. So maybe the tire pressure was low, or maybe the suspension weren't set up right, I'm not quite sure, but that was something that I did notice. Apart from those things, I really like the bike. I think that it is overpriced though. It's $18,999 for the base model. If you want the extended battery life and a few other bits and bobs, you're going to have to pay upwards of 20 grand. And to me, that's just way too much, man. You can get a Ducati Monster, which I think this bike is based on. Ducati Monster 1200 for 15 grand, brand new. You can get a Ducati Monster 800 for like 10, 11 grand, brand new. So I think Zero have kind of priced themselves out a little bit. Unless you're somebody who must have an electric bike and you need it because you're in the city all the time, stuck in traffic, commuting and that, and you're sick of a manual bike, then yeah, okay, this is a good investment, I suppose. But at that 19, 20 grand price mark, I just don't think electric bikes are quite there yet for that type of money. Especially when they're going to cheap out on the instrument cluster and stuff like that. I don't think that's justified, man. For 20 grand, I could get 2 banging bikes, you know? Alright, this is my first big review like this, so I hope it's been interesting, informative. Leave me some comments below on what you thought, what you want to see. Subscribe, because I'm going to be uploading hopefully loads more new stuff very soon, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.